speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Stuff like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Watched all three.
I'm watching it tomorrow after work at 3:00. I have cleared my schedule and I'm watching them all.
Oh, I cannot wait for the next batch to come out.
I saw. Fuck off. Sean, I suppose there's no spoilers now. So I saw the first episode up to as far as the guy going inside the guy's dick and then sneaking and going big again and exploding the guy's body. And then Ella was trying to watch something. She was talking about fucking Love Island or something. So I just fucking put it on and then I'm going to wait.
Well, Love Island's essentially the same thing, isn't it? Like creepy wee guys try to climb inside folk.
Aye, too.
Did somebody not get inside somebody on the first night I was reading?
On what, Love Island?
Aye.
No.
Daily Star lying to me again.
Was it Sean straight in there to defend Love Island?
No, I just answered this question.
Well, let's see if...
I was confused how the rumours circulated because I don't think any of them even actually got close to each other. It was as if there was any going on like that. That's
Unless they've just not shown it, but it actually did happen.
Keep this for your Love Island chat.
Aye,
go for your Love Island podcast, guys. But guys, welcome into this. Is actually Morons reviewing movies. It's not Love Island idiot shit. Some of us choose not to watch that nonsense and watch absolute amazing movies and content like we've got in store for you this week. So thanks for joining us. We are going to be talking about everyone's favourite morons choices. So we have my choices, which are absolute classic in 12 Angry Men. And then we've also got Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I believe we're going to be starting with first of all, Sean, aren't we?
Yes.
Oh, well, listen, let's just get straight into it. I'm sure we've got lots to unpack from this movie that is 4 hours and 2 minutes long. That everyone was
Some would say 4 hours too long.
Oh, well.
At least when we turned it on, it was... Kel did point out it said it was 8 hours at one point. So I'm glad it was only half that. I mean, that would have been... I think I would have jumped out the window. Just
Did anyone choose to watch the black and white version over the coloured version?
So I got it on Sky Movies, so I never had that option. It was just the fucking 4 hours. I never.
It was the sheer panic when I purchased it. So I bought it for like £7 or whatever it was, and then I clicked on it and it said 8 hours and 4 minutes, and I was like, "Fuck!" It's like they will kill me if I make them watch this. But yeah, the Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. So determined to ensure Superman's ultimate sacrifice was not in vain, Bruce Wayne aligns force with Diana Prince, who plans to recruit a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. Sounds amazing, guys, doesn't it? Sounds really, really good. Listen, I'll kick us off then. It was my choice to go for it, and this was more of a tongue-in-cheek choice, just because I wanted to really piss off Daniel, essentially. I had picked a different movie. I'd originally picked Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as an old childhood classic, but someone actually randomly commented under a post saying that we should review the Zack Snyder movies. So I made a swift change to this before Daniel, as he's been really, really busy lately, is a bit slacking on his Instagram efforts.
Daniel, so you bought that person that suggested we should watch these films yet?
I believe they don't even follow the page.
Oh.
I thought you'd done it.
Suggested that.
I thought you'd done it to be totally on point to not only have a court case film, but then also one with Amber Heard in it as well.
That was it. Exactly what I did. Then I actually realised how much. So obviously, I'd never seen this before. I had tried to watch it at one point and I gave up about 30 minutes in. It's a bit. What's a bit different for me for reviewing this is I'm reviewing this more based on Zack Snyder's Justice League versus the Justice League that came out. And when I was watching this, the whole way through this, I'm thinking that this one is 10 times better than the shit that came out in 2017. So guys, think yourself lucky that this was a better quality movie than what we could have been watching. Because the one that was released originally was so much worse than this. But I enjoyed this. See, because I'm right into superheroes and all this geeky stuff, the fact that you got longer to understand more about these characters who, in DC, I feel like I don't know that much about. So Daniel can probably fill some gaps if there is any, because I'm sure some of you are desperate to learn more. But learning more about, for instance, Cyborg, who has pretty much a zero part in the one that hit the cinema in 2017, that was a big thing for me because he was pretty much like essential to the plot of what was going on. I think this one must be a bit different from one that I did watch previously, Daniel, because there wasn't as much orange on the screen as what I remembered.
I felt it wasn't all that orange compared to what I expected. That was going to be one of my comments.
Yeah, I remember when I must have watched just a dodgy copy of it somewhere, but it was like all just dark orange screens everywhere.
I think definitely that was a complaint at the time. Maybe they fixed it for it being obviously with a year or so since it's been released, so they maybe fixed it now.
There's again. So, has anybody seen the original one? Actually, let's ask you guys all that first.
No, I basically gave up with this version of this universe after the shit show that was the first Batman versus Superman. I couldn't even bring myself to watch the extended version of that, which filled in the gaps which needed filled in the original.
Oh wait, that other Zack Snyder movie that was also shit. Sorry.
Not that you'll have an agenda against Zack Snyder.
No, I thought Watchmen was alright, to be fair.
Sorry, Sean. What did you say?
Yeah, I've not seen it. The only thing I've seen for this was Man of Steel, because I loved Superman as a wee boy. So that's the only thing I've seen of it anything to do with this.
Burns, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to assume that you've not seen the original version of the Justice League.
I wouldn't put myself through it, no.
Well, guys, maybe for a bit of context, next week in your own time, you take a night off of Love Island and watch the original Justice League when it came out, just so you can see how much of a treat that I've given you.
An hour. This is 4 hours long. You'd have to get a week off of Love Island to watch this.
I'll be doing you a big favour if you take that week off. But no, I liked how in depth the storylines were. So I do appreciate it's long. It's not exactly the best comic book style or superhero movie that's out there. I'm not naive enough to say that it's better than the Marvel stuff. For me, it was refreshing to watch this because I've seen the previous one 2, maybe even 3 times. I put myself through that just trying to convince myself that I do like it. But this was much better. Steppenwolf is so much cooler in this one than he is in the other version of it. The other version, he looks dead basic and shit. Like I touched on about the storyline with Cyborg, getting to actually understand his character a lot more was so much better. The epilogue towards the end, where you're having the Joker appear, they talk about Harley Quinn, they talk about Robin, all this kind of stuff. I liked because it's all different bits that I do understand a bit of from the comic books and from the stories that they're trying to tell from it. So that all fitted in really, really well for me. I wish I'd seen more of
more?
You want more than 4 hours? Yeah, give me a bit more about it. I could have done with an extra 45 minutes on Lex Luthor, if I'm being honest, in it. I could have done with a lot more to him.
They could have let the Flash run at normal speed for a couple of minutes and he could have caught up and got somebody Lex Luthor in for you.
Honestly, I'm just going to quickly jump in. I took 2 videos while I was watching this to put in our chat. I'm going to send them after this. And one of them includes the Flash running. And fuck me, man. It's just one of the worst things I've ever seen in a film in my life. It just looks utterly ridiculous. Anyway, sorry, Kyle.
No, no problem. The Flash is probably one of the ones that I like the least in this movie as well. But because I watched the Flash TV series, I really want that actor to be playing Flash, no Ezra Miller, who does a decent enough job. But I just got a preference on my Flashes. I'm gonna. I can feel the senses all jumping in your seats to come in and slate this a little bit more. So I'm gonna pass over to Burnsy. Talk us through how much you appreciated this movie.
I think after this, I don't know. Well, I wouldn't have enjoyed this no matter when we watched it, but because I've done quite a few superhero films, and like at the very start when we started doing movies, I didn't really have any or many for what I can remember. So there's been quite a few in succession now, which they're getting really boring for me. It's just not the genre that I appreciate or enjoy. So if it's the last one for a while that we have to watch and that kind of stuff, because like I enjoyed when we went and saw the when we went to cinema and stuff like that to watch some new Batman, but since then we've had a few and it's just kind of ruining my enjoyment a wee bit.
No more fun movies.
Aye, just fun, just superhero fun.
Sorry, Burnsy.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said this definitely wasn't a fun movie.
No, definitely not.
No.
I just found it really boring. I wasn't remotely interested in how it panned out. Didn't care if the bad guys conquered Earth or not. I just felt myself losing interest. Like at points I did lose what was going on, but I think I got the gist of it more than anything. But it wasn't as if I was actually trying to pick things up and did rewind it a few times to try and see if I picked things up. So extended the actual viewing time. And when I got further into it, I was like, why on earth did I do that? But the fighting scenes were far too long. There was just too much nonsense in between, really. I don't understand how people can enjoy it, really. And I think there was like the acting that was all. It wasn't as if I was thinking any of them were annoying me or like they were all. Wasn't anything wrong with anybody that was on the screen. It was just the actual film itself. I just found really not interesting.
I don't know, what's missing though? You've got some romantic angles in there. You've got some good action scenes in there. You've got some cool as fuck characters, some cool bad guys. You've got a background storyline about the bad guys as well. You actually feel a little bit of sympathy for Steppenwolf. There's so much in there. You've got the resurrection of Superman coming in. That's dead emotional. He's coming back. Bringing God back as well. There's loads. There's so much to unfold with this, and there's so much to come in the future, guys. It's dead exciting.
I can tell you one thing: I didn't get emotional for a second watching this.
Not even when you see Lois walking towards a house carrying a baby basket after seeing the pregnancy test earlier on in the movie. Come on, Burnsy, have a heart.
I've obviously not got one.
Burnsy would only have been hooked in if he found that Batman was potentially the Darcy.
That was what was missing.
That's why Bruce has got his arm around him saying, "Congratulations, you're taking my baby."
The bit where I was invested in it was like obviously it's towards the very start. So I think I was thinking maybe this will actually be all right at this point where Wonder Woman's at the school and it's under attack. Like that bit I thought was quite cool. But then see the fight scenes in that too, when obviously there might be that they've got that much power and everybody's just like flying from one end to the room to the other. And I'm like, oh my god, just get it up. But the other I've intentionally not mentioned the length of the film at all, because even if it's 2 hours long, I would still come on here and absolutely destroy it. But even one of the things that I sent in our group chat, that when it came out the cinema, people were saying that it's a really difficult film to watch in one sitting, which I was planning on watching this in one sitting because I wanted to see how it would feel, but I couldn't even bring myself to do that. I had to watch it in 2 sittings. But if you can't watch a film in one sitting, that's not what it's supposed to be as a film. Like you might, like Kyle, I think you'd said as well that you watched this over 2, which I don't. That was maybe time constraints or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine a lot of people able to watch this in one go. And if it was an enjoyable film, and there was just, I think there was just far too much filler for me. And maybe it's because I didn't really understand what was going on all at the time. But I was looking at the screen thinking, I don't know what relevance this has got to the story. And part of that might be a misunderstanding or not understanding a lot of the
The thing
stuff.
is, this film shouldn't be one movie. It shouldn't be.
No.
This should be potentially even 3 films between it.
They've squashed it, like they've squashed basically every single storyline that they've got available to DC into one movie. They've taken Marvel would have done this in 20 movies.
Aye,
Yeah, because even like the appearance of the Martian Manhunter, that needs more information given to it. You see the Green Lantern a little bit in there, but from what I was reading in some of the trivia is that Zack Snyder nearly quit at the start because he cut loads of his stuff out from Green Lantern and didn't let him film a lot of what he wanted to do. So there probably is another 45 minutes of this that could have been added in through the Green Lantern stuff.
You're mentioning names there, Kyle, and I've not got a clue who you're talking about, basically. But that's because they didn't explain to you what was going on. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're saying that they could have, if they maybe cut it into 2 or 3 films, but gave you a bit more understanding of who was who, then maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But I did stick with it, but it was a chore. It wasn't enjoyable at all.
Well, I think maybe what I've done myself dirty here is I probably should have had us watching both of the Justice Leagues this week. We could have done the original one first and then Zack Snyder's one second, and that would have given us a good comparison, because if you've watched the first one, there is some amount of stupidity in the first one. The first one starts off with Clark Superman doing a fucking vlog on a mobile phone. Like, he's doing an interview for somebody on a phone, and it's got like the world's worst CGI for his face because he had to grow a goatee for.
That sounds to be the best scene in this film.
And you miss out on the scene that was not in Snyder's cut, where Aquaman's sitting on the lasso of truth and he's just spouting shit for about 20 minutes. It's just.
I mean, if you take a shit sandwich and put some caviar on it, it's still a shit sandwich with caviar on it. It's just even more disgusting somehow.
Well, Daniel, give us more of your thoughts. As a superhero and comic book fan, surely there's lots for you to appreciate in this.
I would say the opposite. I think it ruins so many good things. Fundamentally, I disagree with the existence of this film. It's a product of fucking online bully culture, willing something into existence that didn't even exist before. It's fucking. I hate it. I hate that it exists. But I put all that aside and I watched it with an open mind. First thing that annoyed me, I'm going to start off.
Can I jump in quickly here, just on that bullying culture to get this movie, and you fundamentally disagree in it. There was actually another Warner Brothers movie that went through the same experience back in the 80s, where a fan petition made it get changed to the original cut that got dropped, and that was Superman 2, one of Sean's favourites.
That's a shame.
Comic book and well in existence for decades. I've lost my train of thought now. Oh, the first thing that annoyed me, back to that, right? How long do you think the opening credits were, guys?
Too long.
Then you take note of how long it was until Zack Snyder's name actually came up.
It was 7 minutes, was it not?
9 minutes.
Oh, it's not bad though. That was good. But again, you got to invest. Like Marvel's got loads of them.
9 minutes of slow motion, no dialogue action. Fucking hell!
That was brutal.
Aye. My issue with this, right, is you've got 4 hours. So yes, there's a lot to cram in, but you could do a lot with 4 hours, right? He does fuck all with 4 hours here, apart from most of the scenes are just empty scenes. They're just empty. It's like a long panning shot of something. A thing that nobody's touched on is the music choices are fucking horrible. Like,
I was going to mention it with the Wonder Woman. Her song is every time she's in a fight scene, it's just her song playing. You're like, fucking hell. We go to maybe the first time, maybe when she appeared on screen, you can maybe replay it, but not every time she fucking pulls out the sword or the shield.
It was super annoying. Like, none of the music seemed to tie in with the scenes. They just me completely out of what was going on. You can tell that it's just been fucked together, like the abomination that it is. Like, if I was to ask anyone in here, right, what's a mother box?
I'm leaving that. I'm leaving that to the floor.
No, but for even you, Kyle, based on this movie, what's a mother box?
Trying to Google what is a mother box. Give me a minute.
See?
Complete silence, right? And that's how bad this movie is, right? It's got 4 hours to tell your story, and nobody even understands what the main threat of the movie is. And do you know why? It's impossible to know, because it's a shit story, really badly told, right? Nobody knows what a mother box is. And then about half an hour of this film is one big grey-looking monster going to meetings with his boss, who's another big grey monster, who's going to relay messages back to his boss, who's another big grey monster. There's about half an hour of that in this film. Him going, yes, I'm going to find the next mother box. It's like, well, why have you only found one mother box? Next time I'll have 2 mother boxes. Okay, I'll go and tell the other guy.
If only they could get a few of them to go and find mother boxes at one point, instead of one guy just having to go and find.
Well, after 3 hours and I checked it, it was after about 3 hours and 40 minutes of this movie. It goes to Darkseid, who's the main big grey bad guy, right? And he goes, fuck it, we'll just invade anyway. So the whole thing was fucking pointless. It was fucking, like, none of it mattered in any way whatsoever.
Just to jump in on mother boxes, guys. So I know you're desperate to know, but it's also called a change engine. It's a perpetual energy matrix of apocolotutian origin. If that clears it up for you. But there is also a bit under here. There is also a bit here that says, and this is maybe some information for a future movie, what are the differences between the mother box and the father box?
See? And the thing is, right, this movie doesn't really establish any motive for any of the characters, really. And but it spends a lot of the movie with Batman going around trying to make this team up, right? And ultimately, Superman just does it. And that's my issue with the Justice League as a whole, right? Because I like DC Comics, but I think DC is really good for individual stories about individual characters. And like Batman stories are great, and Flash stories on their own are great, but I think DC are shit at these big crossover events because you've got Superman. Superman makes everyone else null and void because nobody can beat Superman. So the whole film is building up to bringing Superman back. He's evil for 20 minutes, and it's just over like that. And then he's starting to get it. Like, this is Zack Snyder, I think, is taking a lot of cocaine, written down. He's read like 5 or 6 fucking DC comics. He's read like Crisis on Infinite Earths. He's read about fucking what's it called? The Anti-Life Equation and all that. He's like, I want to do all this fucking shit, and just tries to put it in a movie. And this is a bin on fire. That's what this is.
What was your thoughts on when Superman is punching with the biggest thud noise that you've ever heard in your life, Steppenwolf about the room that they're in?
I mean, Superman fights a Superman fight. That was all right. The worst bit was when they were all fighting against Superman. I think the slow motion thing with the Flash has been touched on, so I didn't want to moan about it too much, but this is a perfect example of how well it can be done, is how they did it with Quicksilver and X-Men movies, right? You can do that effect really well and make it work really well. Whereas a guy just looks like a guy running slow. Like it doesn't give you the feeling or the effect. And see, overall, like, the last thing I want to say, I think this movie is just fucking arrogant. Like, the idea that you can even give yourself 9 minutes of credits, and like the movie basically finishes and there's 25 minutes of him wanking over more ideas that he might have in the future by just cluster fucking all these characters together. Like, Jared Leto's Joker is one of the worst things to ever be on screen. Never mind one of the worst comic book characters. What the fuck is he like trying to achieve with that? It's horrific. Martian Manhunter turning up and going, "Hi, I'm the Martian Manhunter." Like, sound. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. It's just fan service, but it doesn't. It's not even satisfying fan service. It's just.
It's the most. It's the shittest name to have an impact like that.
But if you're going to discover who the Martian Manhunter is, somebody needs to find it on a computer or something. you don't come and announce your name saying, I'm the Martian Manhunter. Sounds fucking lame. Like, and I know it sounds stupid, right? But Aquaman, Jason Momoa's doing a good enough job as it is trying to make Aquaman cool, right? Stop calling him Arthur all the way through the movie. Because it just makes him seem even more fucking stupid. But no, see, in all honesty, right, I didn't really enjoy anything about this film. I really struggled with it in so many levels. And I think it's one of the worst things to ever be made.
You said a lot of positives, though. You did say a lot of positives there, so I expect a good 2.5, 3 coming for Daniel for scoring on there. Someone else that will score it round about that mid to high section is Sean, who is an avid fan of long-term storytelling in a movie. Sean, is this the first movie you've watched for 4 hours?
This took me I think it was 5 or 6 sittings to watch this.
That says more about you than it does the movie.
I don't really think it. I don't think it does. This was really, really bad. Like, I didn't have a clue who 90% of the characters were, the bad guys were. I didn't understand what the storyline was. I knew that there was bad guys trying to take over the world, kill folk. That's obviously a given, but that mother box thing, I think that's in one of the videos that I took. If it's that box that like glows up and pulses.
Yes.
I didn't understand what they were trying to do with that.
Sean, I'm going to jump in here with a question, but maybe Daniel can answer. So the mother boxes get set off because Superman dies, right? So that's what activates them. They're not scared anymore. They can be activated. So why have they been so dormant for centuries and centuries if Superman's not been there for centuries and centuries?
None of it makes sense, Kyle. Don't try and make this make sense, because it doesn't. It's stupid.
Well,
if you stick one mother box on a wall, you get a big giant tree grow up from it. But you stick 2 on the wall, then you get this big fucking wooden dystopia fucking surrounding you. Like, what? There's no logic to that at all.
But one mother box in a paddling pool brings Superman back to life, as long as somebody runs really fast at the same time.
And that made no sense. What was he doing? He was just, I didn't get it. I thought, it's not to touch the water. And it touched the water, and I'm like, and then it fucking came out of the water. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? None of it made any sense.
But he had to run. He had to break his rule though and run too fast so that he broke the speed force so that he could reverse time because it was too late.
Listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth.
In the pool too.
Listen to the words coming out of your mouth there. What a load of fucking nonsense.
Listen, I've watched the Flash TV show. I know all about the Speed Force, so that was to me that was cool.
No, he was fair enough that bit being cool, but the bit Sean's talking about is when they bring Superman back to life, and what they're doing is instead of using his power to be really fast, it's his power to run fast enough to make electricity, and they're doing full electricity. It's fucking stupid. You're right, Sean. Anyway, carry on.
I found the Flash. He's up there in like my top 5 most annoying characters on film ever. He was fucking really irritating. See when he was in the pet rescue shop or whatever it was, and then he's smiling at the lassie who's in the car, and she's about to have a crash.
But that's Iris West, though, Sean. You need to understand this. It's Iris. That's his long-term love. That's the love of his life.
Right, cool. So when the crash comes up, and then he runs so fast out his shoes, and he's just standing there while she's going through there very slowly, and he's like it was really creepy. And I found him really fucking annoying. Aquaman, well, his wee stupid one-liners. I've said this before when we watched Avengers about how Robert Downey Jr., his character was like, when you're in the middle of a fight against all these fucking world things for other worlds and you're making wee fucking one-liners, get the fuck. He was like so over. It was so overbearing. Every time he was on screen, he's making a daft wee one-liner. I found him really irritating. Ben Affleck as Batman is like bird shit on toast. It's just fucking awful. Nobody, I don't know. I've not heard anybody say anything good about Ben Affleck as Batman. He just looks fat when he's got.
I'll say something good. He's better than George Clooney and Val Kilmer and potentially Keaton.
No, I'd have George Clooney over.
Potentially Keaton. You shut your mouth.
But I mean, there's not much in it between Affleck and Keaton, to be honest. Keaton's just shit Batman.
He genuinely looks fat when he's got the suit on. He just looks like a fat Batman.
He does.
Batman.
Him running about shooting folk with his wee laser gun. That's no Batman. I've never seen Batman shoot a gun in my fucking life. Usually probably no more than I will. He's obviously into comics and stuff like that. But I just found his version of Batman utter garbage.
If I was to rank the Batman though, obviously Rob Pattinson's number one. He's the best. Bale would be next. I'm struggling between
stop
Affleck.
taking us on a tangent. We're currently talking shit about your favourite film. So I'm trying to change the
Adam
subject.
West is above Clooney anyway.
He's above fucking Keaton, Adam West.
The only, and this is obviously from a personal point of view, I understand if other people wouldn't like it, but because I've when I was a wee boy, Superman was I was Superman daft, and I still watching it. It was quite. I just I don't know, the idea of Superman, and I think Henry Cavill's really good, and I hope that I do get to see him in a kind of Man of Steel 2 or whatever it is that they're going to do. No matter how shit it probably turns out, I'll probably still like it. His wee 20-minute, however long he was actually on the screen for, I actually googled it, and it was like 22 minutes. Was all right for me to see because I like that character, but I really didn't like this film. I thought it was. And again, like Bonzi, I'm trying not to mention the time. Obviously, the 4 hour. Well, the fact it's 4 hours long, but it was just really shit. I just did not like this one. But
Must have been a massive plus point for you, Sean, seeing Superman in the black suit, though.
No, I didn't like that. It has to be blue and red. I actually say to myself, "What the fuck's this?" when he was got his black suit on. But see the last half hour of the film, right, where Son, again, I'm not really clued up on who the people are, right? Like the bad guys and all that. But then, like they said, he's already here or something because this box, they hadn't done the thing with the box in time or something. And then it seemed to be like 2 minutes later, that part was over. And then it was the last half hour where, like, they're having flashback, dreams, or fucking Batman's having dreams. I have no fucking clue what was going on in that last half hour. Like, I text Bunzy and I said the last half hour is undoubtedly the most confusing and worst part of the film. I did not understand what was going on. I didn't understand if the battle had actually ended or what the fuck was going on. I just thought it was really poor and just really shite. I'm not want to kind of ramble on and just kind of repeat myself, but it's a definite no for me. I'm just glad it's done. I'm glad it's done. Like, I mean, I was dreading watching it for fucking since it was announced.
Been a rough week then for you, Sean.
I mean, fucking, you should not need to sit through 5 different attempts to get through a film. That's just ridiculous.
Listen, like I said to you in the group chat the other day, this week of runtime in movies is only 20 minutes longer than some ones that have got massive scores up and everybody sat through it fine. You can't do that.
I was going to say 4 hours worth of this one is filled up with Zack Snyder's shite.
And there's already been touched on, but the slow motion stuff, what the fuck is that all about? Like, you could literally, like, everything's in slow motion, everything. Or like literally, there must be at least 90 minutes of action in slow motion in this. Why?
Sean was that angry he couldn't get his words out there.
It's not even full screen. It's 2022 for fuck's sake.
Exactly. This adds to the arrogance of this wanker, right? He made a movie in IMAX aspect ratio for a movie that was never going to get released at IMAX. It was going straight to TV. It went to HBO Max. What a fucking wank.
Go to DVD first.
Hey.
That push.
And
well, to cover the slow motions there was 24 minutes and 7 seconds of slow motion footage.
I felt like double that.
Definitely did. Anyway,
Right, Hunter, you've got some positive things to say about it.
It's such a weird thing. It's like, I didn't totally hate it, but I feel like everything I'm going to say about the film is all the things that angered me and triggered me throughout it. Like, first of all, it's been touched on that fucking opening into the credits.
How cool was it seeing Batman coming over the mountains? That was cool.
It was just the fact that it started off by triggering me like why much I hated that first Batman v Superman film in the first place. Just like for the reminder of why I've never went back to any of the films in this. And I know it's been touched on, so we've had basically a couple of the characters have had their own origin film, but really everyone should have had an origin film, or maybe had a tie-in of some sort, so that you can help build it all up. I just think the good thing, I obviously Cyborg was a character that was new to me. I'm not quite the level of geekness of the comic books like with you and Daniel, but that was a character that was new to me, and it kind of I did feel a bit just ripped off the Dark Knight trilogy when they were playing football. I felt like I'd seen that exact scene before, like it was ripped out of the Dark Knight Rises when I'm playing American football. But I felt like they could have done a lot more with him, and probably I feel like with this universe, like obviously Marvel is the mantle, and it's never going to get anywhere close. But it just seems to be so poor. Like they seem to have I don't know if they just managed to had their finger on the pulse, and they've had a lot better directors and screenplay writers or whatever. But everything just seems to be such a letdown on this universe. I think that's maybe why the Batman films are standalone and they're different, because they're not forced into a tie-in with anything else. And kind of Sean, you touched on it, but Ben Affleck as Batman was just god awful. I mean, there was a few times he was trying to put on like a Batman voice, and he just kept speaking in his own normal Bruce Wayne tone rather than being I'm the Bat, like that sort of mad sort of Batman voice that he does.
I noticed that as well, Hunter. Because sometimes when he was just Bruce Wayne, he would do like half a sentence Bruce Wayne and half a sentence fucking Batman. Weird, isn't it?
I know. And then obviously as well, like the bad guys are a step. I just couldn't connect with. I didn't believe any of them to be as evil and as cunning as they were. I mean, the top bad guy is just Thanos and Pet of Chick's love child. It's just Thanos with a skull cap with his chin. Oh, it was. I was just again to touch on it with the slow mo. I think I know the one you're talking about, Sean. That you said you were going to send in. There was a couple of the slow mos, and you're just like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the facial expressions through them or whatever. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? This just been so poorly acted or directed. To whoever gave the go ahead to say, "You know what? That's it. That makes the final cut. That is worth it for an extra fucking 2 minutes screen time with a film that's already been 4 hours long at that point." But again, on that aside, there are some things. I mean, it's not by far. It's still not the worst things we've watched. I would watch this over possibly our bottom 10 films easily, but over and above that, I think we could be struggling.
I'm sitting here thinking that I'll take that as a fucking dub if you're putting that above the top 10 bottom. It was a bottom 10, sorry. Hunter, just to go into your thing that you said about the football game, all three of Zack Snyder's DCEU films have a scene in a football game. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and this one as well. So it's a part of being his thing as well as slow motion.
And being a wanker.
Oh, and to answer the question I put at the suggestion I put in the group chat, 2.5 hours of a single blade bit crazy with the balls was much more enjoyable.
Oh, well, anyone want to add anything more onto Zack Snyder's Justice League?
No thanks.
I just want to add that this is the first movie we've watched, maybe on par with The French Dispatch, that offended me. This movie offended me.
Add that as a potential podcast name. Well, looking at some of the trivia, because one of the morons decided to not do his job yet again.
Apologies.
I've tried to drip feed little bits of it in as we've been talking, but during March 2021, this was the longest movie in IMDb's top 250 movies. Any guesses at who it overtook?
Gone with the Wind.
Correct. Gone with the Wind coming in at 3 hours and 58 minutes.
And that's got the common courtesy to give you a break in the middle.
Exactly.
Well, looking at Rotten Tomatoes as well, I want to have any guesses about the scores on Rotten Tomatoes. So what's the tomato meter, guys?
Oh, knowing the fucking type of folk that like this, I would imagine the audience score is very high and the critics score is.
Aye. The
It's
critics
one of those
score-
films you said before, Daniel, that everyone just pretends that they like because it's cool to like.
That is exactly it.
like an 80-20 split, so the critics score about 20% and the audience about 80%.
The audience score comes in at 94%.
Fucking hell.
With over 25,000 plus ratings. And after 305 reviews from the critics, they agree that it's a 71%.
Wow, that's funny. Do you know what's to add to Burnsley's point, right? This movie was willed into existence by all these folk, right? They campaigned for it for years. They made it happen, right? So therefore, they couldn't say it was shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like saying their own movie is shit. Like they spent years saying this is going to be the best movie ever. So when it came out, they were all painted into a corner, painted into a big fucking geeky corner, and they were fucked, and they all had to pretend that they loved it. Shite.
Right, well, let's get scoring down there, guys. I'm going to go last on scoring this time. I want to see how you guys play it out. Sean?
Excuse me. I'm going to give this 0.5 only because of Superman.
So your childhood hero is only worth a 0.5 to you?
Well, they only put him in for 22 minutes. If he wasn't in this, then this is up there with Zulu Dawn.
Hunter?
You'll be pleased to know that the first part of my number doesn't begin with a 0.
That's a 4?
No, the second bit does. It's a 1.0 for me.
Let's just fucking mute you. Burnsy?
Easy for me, it's up there with Zulu Dawn, so a 0.
Daniel?
I'm going to echo Burnsy. I'm going to give this a 0, and if I could make it the zeroest of zeros so that it was at the bottom of all the zeros, that's what I would do.
A 1, a 0.5, and 2 zeros. Well, like I said, there is parts of it that I enjoy. I did hit in the say earlier, it's not exactly a masterpiece. I know it's not the best film that's out there. I was actually expecting a little bit higher on the scores, guys. I did think that.
Can I just butt in there, Kyle? It's like I actually got. I wasn't going to give it a 0 at the start, but talking about it's made me more angry about the film, so it's actually decreased my score. I was definitely giving it at least a 0.25 when we started, and I've just got frustrated talking about it, so it went down.
That 0.25, that's it.
He does it nicely to the next one when we're scoring it.
Well, I'm going to come in and give it a 3 out of 5.
You made us watch that for a 3 out of 5.
I didn't have to give it a 5 just because I picked it.
You haven't watched it before, Sean.
I thought you picked it because you absolutely loved it. I thought you'd seen it before.
No, I hadn't seen this before.
You hadn't?
No.
Fucking hell.
He picked it. To be fair, I'm quite glad you picked it, right? Because it's out the way now. We can stop talking about it. Because
I those empty threats can no longer be used against us anymore.
Well, Burnsy, what does that then score us overall for Zack Snyder's Justice League?
A very high 0.9.
0.9? That's not bad, actually. We've got a lot more lower than that. I can't wait till we have like a retake one week and then I can make you watch this again.
That's not happening.
Right, guys, we need to rethink the scoring on this because that 0.9 puts this below Fear and Loathing.
Fair.
It does not deserve to be.
As well,
so if you're ever in doubt, right, you can always say at least Fear and Loathing was only an hour and 40 minutes or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Well, I looked at our ratings before this, and the Boondock Saint or Boondock Saints, whatever you call it, I scored that a 1, and this is far worse than that, and that got destroyed in here.
Well, you look at it the other way, you've kept us at more on point, so that's a film starring Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and a court case now been mentioned on this week's podcast.
There you
Well
go.
done, not bad. So this brings Zack Snyder's Justice League to come in at number 125 on our list. Just on our list, sorry, below Fear and Loathing and above Pokemon's Detective Pikachu.
That's harsh on Pikachu.
Agreed.
some company to be in there. Well, let's put a pin in that, and I'm sure we can come back to Zack Snyder's Justice League at some point, especially when the next installment of him directing something comes in. Let's move on to an absolute classic. Actually, before we do so, Daniel, I did notice you put up asking for some questions on Instagram. Let's scratch the surface of that to give you guys that are complaining and moaning a little break.
I have a couple of questions I'd like us to answer from the Instagram questions. The first one comes from Chris, the end of the show, and just I want to see if there's any stories that come off the back of this. But what's your favourite flavour of the Mad Dog?
I've only liked the
it's all
orange one,
fucking stinking.
so I'd say the orange one, but that was when I was younger and it's probably too sweet now. If I went back to it, I'd have to have some. I don't know what the other flavours would taste like though.
Electric melon.
What's the connoisseur here, I think? What were you saying, Sean?
Electric melon.
My favourite is now no longer in production. There used to be one called Purple Passion. It was like a great flavour. I used to love that. Where that and a can of you kind of get like Tenant Super. You used to get Strongbow Super, so a bottle of Mad Dog and a can of Strongbow Super. That was my pre-match tipple back in the day.
And you look homeless as well, so that all matches. I feel like I had a bottle of Mad Dog maybe in the last year, and it was a struggle. I think I poured half it out. To be fair, it was stinking.
Did you drink
not had that in a
Buckfast
while,
instead, Kel? That's what I'd either. You always seem to either like Mad Dog or Buckfast, or did you like neither?
Yeah, I was always the cans. I was in the cans of tenants at a tender age. I was all the boys are drinking Buckfast.
Based for me, I was Steve. I was over working in America a few years ago. Did kind of like over? That's what their local the alkies will drink that, and it's like when I was there. That was about 6 years ago. It was like $2 a bottle of Mad Dog. I'm like, I could, but if I case for this, bring it back here and sell it at $5 a pop and make a profit.
That's outrageous.
I think I was never a big fan either. It was never one of my drinks of choice. The first time I ever bought alcohol, actually, I didn't know what to ask for because I was young. I was only 14, but I had a beard, so it was me that got sent in. So I got a quarter bottle of High Commissioner whiskey and just drank the bottle.
The boy just thought you were fucking stripping paint off. It was.
It was fucking horrible, but I didn't know what else to ask for because I was too naive and young.
My very, very first drinking experience, I think I must have only been about 13, 14, and I was at the shops. My big brother was there with his pals, and I had my pocket money in my pocket. I genuinely think I had like a $5, right? And I said to him, like, I'll go and get me something to drink. Like, I'll have something to drink. Because him and his pals are sitting drinking down at the shops. Because that's what you do when you're a cool 17, 18-year-old guy. So he took my $5 off me, and he went in the shop, and he came back out with a 2-litre bottle of White Lightning and told me that it cost a $5. You've got to bear in mind, this has gone back 22, 23 years.
£1.25 that bottle.
And obviously, I tanned it back, got absolute wrecked, pissed myself at the park, and then got sent home. So it's like, sent home, walked through the door, and went straight up to my mum's room, opened the door and told her, oh, I've drunk a bottle of White Lightning and I've pissed myself.
My mum and dad never really bothered with me coming home steaming, so I never got the excitement of like having to get caught or that. Just come in pissed.
I went straight up and grasped myself in and went to my bed quite happy. I went in my pissy clothes as well.
Oh no. I mind early on in the drinking down the park years, maybe about 15-year-old, being so steaming that when I went for a piss, I pissed inside my t-shirt. Like inside do you know what I mean? So my t-shirt was hanging down too low and I've just pissed all over inside my t-shirt. And just carried on with my night. Covered in piss. Terrible, man.
Oh, I used to you get see if you got like a brand new pair of suede Timbies and you go for a piss that first Friday night out, you get the splashback right later, £120 wound.
You used to always get the joke like, why have you walked around that corner and come back with shiny shoes?
Aye.
Well, since we've spent the last 48 minutes talking about pish, well, let's finish up talking about pish and move on to absolute greatness. 12 Angry Men is the next movie that we're going to be reviewing, guys. It's number 5 in IMDb's top 250 movies of all time. We're going to do it a little bit differently with the scoring. We're going to start off with giving our numbers right now. Then we're going to discuss the movie, and then we're going to see what our scores are at the end. To give you an insight of what the movie is, this movie came out in 1957. So you guys going from watching a 4-hour-long movie to a black and white movie, it's just been a horrible week for some of you here. The jury in a New York City murder trial is frustrated by a single member whose skeptical caution forces them to more carefully consider the evidence before jumping into a hasty verdict. I'm going to kick off, and I'm going to give it a 5. Daniel?
This might be surprising, but I'm going to second that 5.
Burnsy?
I messaged earlier to wind you up and say that I was as if I hated this, but I did enjoy it, but not to the same extent. So I'm going to give it a 4.
4. Sean?
A black and white film, eh? A 4.5.
4.5. Hunter?
4.5 from me.
Wow.
4.5 from Hunter. Incredible. Let's get these numbers boosted up, guys. This is just the best movie of all time. When I very, very first watched this, I was in that skeptical way of, it's a black and white movie. I don't know if I like it. It sounds dead boring. But I think it's probably one of the most gripping movies you can watch, with just thinking about being in that room and being that one guy who, back in the 50s, bear in mind, it's a little bit more forward thinking than all of the rest of the selfish people that are there. And he just puts the question out there of, like, could this potentially not be a slam dunk, he's a murderer case? What's cool for me is watching the different characteristics of the people that are acting in it as well, because some of them are really, really angry. They, as the name suggests, and they just have pure hatred to this guy that, bear in mind, you don't actually get to know exactly what his ethnic background is. It's just different to what these guys are in the room. And there's just a sieve towards it, and it's the predetermination that he's guilty, get him killed, get him murdered. It was just like a game for him, essentially. For me, this is like gets me dead riled up watching it, because I get so angry watching the way that some of these people are, and then it ends for me, and I get quite emotional, especially when the last guy changes his guilty to not guilty, and he breaks down, and you see the picture of his son, and you actually learn that the whole time that he's had all that anger, it's just because this guy's young. So I'm going to get too animated about it, but Burnsy, we'll come to you to find your thoughts.
Aye, so when you picked it, I didn't think I would like it as much as what I did, because it's a really old film, which I've said before that I prefer more recent ones, and also because it was in black and white, I thought it's just not going to be for me. But it's also different to a lot of when films that we have watched that's anything to do with a court case, because you're usually based in the courtroom. I don't know if there's any other films that are similar to this in terms it's just based about the verdict, if you like. But I was like captivated throughout it, which I was surprised at. When you think about it, it's actually a quite simple main storyline, if you get what I mean. But you learn obviously so much about all the guys throughout the film. I thought Henry Fonda and Lee J.
It's funny because there's no names in this.
I know, I had to look them up after it. So it was number 3 and number 7, I think. Is that the main character? See number 7? Can't remember.
Number 3 was a dickhead.
Oh, number 3 was a dickhead. Number 7, I think, was the guy that was.
Henry Fonda was number 8.
Number 8, sorry. I thought they two were class, because I thought the guy who was number 3, he portrayed his character really well in terms of, obviously you didn't know the reason behind it, but he did come across as a complete dick, but he played the role terrifically. You could tell obviously from the very start that you didn't know how they were going to get there, but you knew how the film was going to progress in terms of. I thought from the very start it was going to turn, and obviously the guy was going to be found not guilty. But it was really interesting, even though you knew what was going to happen. how they got to that stage, and even the parts where obviously they're going through all the evidence. And I thought that was because it to an extent, it obviously felt as if that's what would have happened in the courtroom, but you were seeing it with the jury, if you like. So it was. I've not really got any bad points to say about it at all, which is obviously weird because I've said it's only a 4 I was going to give it, but it's more. That's more just based on other films that we've watched, and I don't feel it was like the best film we've seen. That's mainly the reason. And there was like quite a few simple things that they mentioned about you could just the people that were with in the jury, and it was like the guy that was obviously wanting to get away from the baseball game and that kind of stuff. You can imagine people that are in there and they're just like, I just want this over with. Like I don't really. And then it's only when was it number 7 or 8 when he obviously explains to them, no, but you need to actually think about this seriously because this is a guy's life here. How would you feel as if it was somebody that you knew, for instance? And the bit that was, I didn't get emotional like you, Kel, again, which maybe it's just I've not got a heart, as we spoke about earlier. But when everyone turned their back on the guy when he was going on that racist rant, that was really powerful. Like I didn't feel emotional, but it did hit you. And that's really all I've got. There's nothing I can think of in terms of how it would have improved. It's more just I think on the quality of film that we've seen so far, it just wasn't. It didn't blow me away, but it was really enjoyable though. And it was something that flew by as well.
That scene you mentioned there, Burns, about them all turning their back on him was incredible. Because it's even the people that are still in the guilty section,
that was
turning the back on him, and it's interesting to see them all like challenging each other as well. Like you've got the really old guy who's first one to kind of back up juror number 8, and he's like, oh, if only I was younger, like, well, I'd do X, Y, and Z. But it shows you obviously like when you I've never done jury service. I've been called up for it a couple of times, but I've never actually went and done it. But it's just you're going to all be in this room together with people, and you don't know any of them. You don't know any of their backgrounds or anything about them, but you all have to come to a mutual agreement. And there's one of the jurors in there that comes from the same background as the person that was being accused. And it takes him a while to actually pluck up the courage to say that. And that's quite a big bit in it, because he's sitting there probably feeling that everyone in here is talking about me. They're talking about me and my upbringing and my family. And he eventually snaps and says, like, that's what I am. And because they go down the route of, oh, you can tell, you can just tell. And he's like, well, you can't, because that's me.
That was the other thing I was going to lean into what you were saying in terms it felt really believable that when I was watching it, you could actually imagine, you actually felt as if you were there to an extent, and you could it felt to an extent you're watching like a documentary, if you like, instead of a film. But that's me saying it as a positive, because I didn't feel like, oh, this is a storyline. Actually, it felt as if it was real life, which I think is obviously how it's meant to come across. So it's another plus point for me.
Well, Daniel, you took great pleasure in trying to explain this to your better half about what type of movie this was. That went down like a lead balloon, didn't it?
I actually didn't want to watch it with me. I said we could watch this film, but I've got to watch for Movie Club. What is it? Oh, it's a movie from 1957 called 12 Angry Men. No. So this is one of those films, right, that is always on those lists, like Casablanca and all that everyone should watch, right? And this is one of those that I say everyone should. Like, I just think this is, I don't know what it is. Bonzi said a really good thing that you feel like you're in the room, like you feel like you're there with them, and it does such a good job at making you feel frustrated when you should feel frustrated, and making you feel a bit questioning when you should. And it takes you on this great journey with just 12 folks sitting in a room. There's nothing exciting about it. Obviously, I've not looked up any trivia, right? But one thing that no one's mentioned that, and I'm wondering if it's maybe not been picked up by everyone, but so to me, juror number 8 is the guy who actually killed that guy.
Oh, because they had the knife? Is that where you're starting from?
He had the night. He spoke a lot about his background, that he knew, and his dad beating him up and all that, and how blah blah blah. And then just the way the camera lingers on him, especially when he leaves the court, like he had the exact same knife, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got it when I was out walking last night." And he's fighting so hard to prove this guy innocent because he knows he is innocent because he's guilty. Is the way that
It's been almost like serial killer, like he's raging that he's not getting the credit for the perfect crime that he's committed. That they're almost trying to throw somebody else under the bus for it.
Which I think obviously a normal person would be thinking, I want him to be found guilty because it gets everybody off my back.
I took it as he's like, you know what these old 50s, I don't want like a guardian angel, right? But he's like a good guy. That wee boy was getting abused by his dad. He's went and put an end to it, and then he's got him off going to jail for it. But again, I look it up to see if that's a theory anywhere. But
I've typed it in, and there's definitely people that are singing off the same sheet as you there, Daniel, saying that he knew where to get the knife. He'd already mentioned he broke the law. He had a motive. He had lots of grasps on the facts, and he obviously knew that the boy was innocent. So there's definitely a conspiracy theory for it. It didn't even cross my mind.
But if he did do it, then surely in his best interest would be for somebody else to go down for it.
No, but he did it to save the wee boy for his abusive dad. So seeing the wee boy go to prison would ultimately have defeated
the wee boy was going for the chair, wasn't he?
He was going for the chair. He wasn't going to prison. He was getting killed.
Aye, or getting killed. Aye. So he did it to save the wee boy for his dad. So to complete the saving, he would also have to not let him go to the chair.
But also, like, he obviously plays that part where he's like, it's a common knife, which nobody else in the room could dispute or know it, and it could just be in that neighborhood. There is a place you can buy knives and guns quite easy. Obviously, the whole part of it is just to like that whole reasonable doubt. If you got any kind of doubt,
aye, and that's what this movie does. It's a visual representation of reasonable doubt and what it is. The way that it could have come across as cheesy sometimes, the way they do this, like planting a little seed about him saying that I'll kill you, right?
Yes.
And he's heard saying that, and then build it up towards like 40 minutes later in the film, or maybe 50, like quite a bit later, builds up to the guy saying it. And he's like, "Well, do you mean it?" And then there's so many clever little bits, and the fact that they slowly just change one person's mind at a time. And there's just something masterful about it. I don't know. I just found myself, I loved every minute of it. I was captivated the full time. I enjoyed everything that was going on. Like Bonzi said, that you knew where it was going for the start. You can tell within the first 5 minutes, okay, this is a movie where 11 folk think he's guilty and they're all going to have to change, and that's not going to be the case, right? But I don't think I could fault it, which is why I give it a 5. I couldn't think of anything that I disliked about this film. You'd think something with 12 actors in it would have some people that were like annoying or like weak links on the screen, but the annoying folk annoyed you in the way they were supposed to, and it made you feel the way that the other people in the room felt. I think this is a masterpiece. I think it's amazing. So cheers for picking it, Kev.
And this, right, you're welcome. I'm glad you liked at least one of them.
Oh, can we kiss each other somewhere else? Jesus Christ.
Well, this is that point you said there about the actor side of it. So this was remade in 1997 with James Gandolfini in it.
Any good?
So Gandolfini's in it, but you've got like Tony Danza and stuff in it as well, and it's shocking. It's shit. But what they did with the remake is they did it word by word, scene by scene, exactly the same as 1957, and it just doesn't work.
How come that's longer then? Because it's a longer film, and it's also got like ratings on like Rotten Tomatoes of like 90% as well. Because I was looking at it today.
See, I watched it years and years ago, and remember the whole time just being like, "This is just the same movie," and it was crap comparison.
It's definitely an extra half hour longer, so there must be some differences in it.
Well, maybe
unless it's like I don't know, like an extra long credit scene, just half hours of rolling credits.
Maybe there's 24 minutes of slow mo.
Zack Snyder came in to direct the end credits.
or maybe there's a half hour interval. You just sit and watch them eating lunch.
That's where the break went. Sean, what was your thoughts on this then? You've given it a 4.5, which is big for you.
Aye, like I wasn't really looking forward to it at all. As you know, I'm quite petty when it comes to like black and white films. I'm not really interested in stuff. And obviously, it being such an old film as well, I thought this is just going to come across quite cheesy and quite how I found Cool Hand look. Just that wasn't for me at all. I think I scored that a 1. So I was kind of expecting something along the kind of similar kind of lines, but after like 5 minutes, because I do enjoy like kind of courtroom stuff. This wasn't necessarily courtroom stuff. It was just the jurors obviously discussing it. So I was like, this will probably be really boring, because I like the kind of the battles between the two lawyers and stuff like that whenever I watch like a courtroom drama or whatever. So I wasn't really expecting to actually like this, but after 5 minutes, I was quite hooked in on it. Like I watched it this afternoon. I actually watched an hour of it on my lunch because I was just want to get it out of the way because I wasn't going to watch it after work. But like I thought I'll just end up like fucking like my mind will drift off. It'll be that boring. But I literally just sat and just hung on every word for that hour. And then I watched the rest of it after my work. But I did really enjoy it. You kind of knew the way it was going to go, obviously, when it starts off and it's basically 1 against 11. But as Daniel says, I like how it's changing one person's mind at a time, and it's all through kind of logical things. Like they might not be true. Like this boy might well have killed his dad, but putting that doubt in people's minds, which is, do you mean the correct thing to do? Because if there is any doubt, you can't really convict on it. The boy that played juror number 3, obviously you're not meant to like him, but he was a fucking horrible bastard. And the other boy, again, I get lost with the numbers and stuff, but the guy who had the baseball tickets, who just wanted to go home, and he was willing to just change it, he just wanted to get out of there. Like that must happen quite a lot. People get called up for this kind of thing, which is quite obviously not every case is going to be like this, where somebody's life's on the line and things like that. But no doubt there will be people that will just agree with people just to get out of there basically quicker.
How good was that scene when he got challenged? When he got challenged on that change just because of out here.
As well. It was by both sides, because the people who were voting guilty challenged them, then the non-guilty side challenged them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was at least consistent with that, because obviously both sides won. Like obviously the two guys that did speak up, they weren't just wanting him to go with the flow just because he could get out of there earlier. I've never. I was kind of laughing at times because there seemed to be a lot of times where they would just dramatically stand up and then walk around the room. Like I don't know. I just found that quite funny. The one thing that did annoy me, and I don't know what you think about it, but when it started to rain, I thought it was really loud, and at times I was kind of struggling to hear what they were actually saying because it was that loud. That's just a totally minor thing, but I didn't really see the point in the rain being that loud. I'm not really sure why it was like that or the purpose of it actually raining. But I found that quite annoying, if I'm honest, because it was constant for like the last, must have been half an hour, 40 minutes. It was just this incessant fucking like monsoon that you could hear. And it was overpowering their fucking voices and you couldn't really hear what they were saying. But no, it was a really pleasant experience to watch it. I'm going to watch the remake. I need to find it, but I'm going to watch that probably at some point, or we might watch it if you want. I don't know. But I was pleasantly surprised by it, I must say.
Happy days. Let's keep it going. Come straight into Hunter with another 4.5.
Yes, I mean, I think I kind of know. I kind of been working sort of long hours and long days or whatever. So having to squeeze this in when I got back to the hotel one night, I was working. I was like, oh, I could have seen the end of it. To begin with, and I think the only thing that's maybe stopped this scoring this a wee bit higher is because I was not forced myself to stay awake to watch it because I hated the film at all. It was just because I was absolutely shattered, and I maybe didn't appreciate it that little bit much more than what I already did during it. But I kind of whatever everyone's got touched on already. It's so superb. It's so well done. Like you don't think for a second that you don't even consider the fact that it's black and white. Or it's from 1957 throughout. It's just so well done and well scripted. The interactions between everyone are so good. I like Daniel's take on Juror Number 8 potentially being a killer. I think that adds a certain different dynamic to the film. I think I wouldn't go as far as a 5. I think you always knew everyone was going to change their mind, so I think that maybe takes a little bit of the shine off it for me. And again, well, because I was zombified by the end of it, just the lack of sleep, but I didn't get that emotional pull when they found out about the guy's son when he changes his mind at the end. But that aside, again, as I said, it is so well done. As I said, yeah, it is a proper roller coaster of emotions when you've got the old racist guy. I mean, you're willing to start flinging stuff at the screen just because he's the way that they make him sit and turn inside the corner. I mean, it's so well. I mean, everyone's, even though they're disagreeing about so much during the arguments about the case, that they can all come together to say this boy needs to wear there and no speak to him because he's just spouting absolute shite. So I find that even though they're still at loggerheads, there is still a common good, and I think that's what eventually comes out in the end, is they do have a reason that eventually you can convince them all, because they do have that sort of good bone in the body that they can be reasoned with. Even, I mean, it might take some more persuasion than others, but they do eventually get to the point. And I mean, I suppose the only thing you can, I suppose it does add the mystery. Like you would actually find out what actually happened to actually got set down. But again, that could be another film in itself where you actually then go and explore the full case and you get all the evidence, and you can, I don't know, maybe make your mind up yourself, or you find out who actually done it. But I think that would then doing that would probably take away from obviously the masterpiece that this is, and again, it doesn't need anything more to it. It's just me thinking outside the box and what you could do different a little bit. But I mean, as I said, that sort of, I mean, you know it's coming. You know they're all going to turn and go for it. But the journey it takes you there from A to B when you've got 1 to 12, and you're like, how is this guy seen everything different from everyone else in this room? And then it explains it all down. I like that stuff. The kind of almost like the sort of the true crime stuff where it sort of breaks down. Well, they've just chucked this guy in the stand for whatever reason because he's the easy target, he's easy to pick. But these are all the reasons why it may or may not have been this person. You're like, gosh, once you take that on board, you're right, that's just easy. Which is even still to this day, which is sometimes how the justice system works in America, but they just put the easy target in, and maybe because he's young, if they maybe try to coerce what would you call it, a plead out of him already rather than letting his peers decide for him. So again, these are the sort of things you think about when you're going through it. But I mean, on second score, there may or may not be a score change. But I mean, as you've all sort of said, it does deserve to be up there. It is a masterpiece, and I just kind of wish I'd been a bit more awake to appreciate it more than what I was during the first watch.
Yeah, and this is something that I've watched a few times now, and each time I get the same excitement out of it, and I'm dead guilty of like putting a film on, putting Football Manager on, or putting the PlayStation on, or something like that. But this does get the full attention. Like I look at all the little details of it, and there's so many like scenes in it that I just love. The scene where they're playing out, where the old man would have done his run to the door within 15 seconds. And then Henry Fonda's character is playing it well, where he's doing the same walk as what the guys walked into court with, and then the people that want him to make it so that it did happen are like rushing him, like faster, like he would have been faster than that. But there you're getting an actual feel of what it is that they've had in there, and the one guy that I liked probably the most in the whole thing, aside from Henry Fonda's character, was the guy with the glasses who. He has that moment where he's like, oh shit, actually she would need glasses, because they make conscious efforts throughout there to watch him fixing his glasses, fixing his eyes. There's little subtle bits that lead all the way up to that. I knew that was going to be it was happening, so I remembered that was a big point. I kind of half remembered what everyone changed for, so I was looking for all the subtle bits that happened before it. And there's loads where you see him pulling at his eyes and he's looking at things funny and he's squinting, and then that comes a big plot point, like how on earth could she see that through a moving train if she needs her glasses?
To add on to that as well, a good thing they did with him was very early on they were complaining about the heat, somebody said to him, "Do you not sweat?"
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
they were quizzing him on that, and when he was starting to change his mind, a single bead of sweat came down his head. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Like Prince Andrew on a Pizza Express by the time he was getting questioned.
There you go. So, part of the trivia, Daniel, the only time Durafor sweats is when he's proven wrong upon the facts that he mentions and some questions regarding the movie he allegedly watched when the incident occurred. There you go. So, he has his one sweat. Juror number 1 was the only one that never actually explained why he thought the defendant was guilty, the foreman guy.
Yeah, he didn't. He just sort of told everyone else to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really his facial expressions that changed throughout it, and then from when he changed from guilty to not guilty. No, guys, I'm buzzing that he's really enjoyed it, because it's one of those ones I was apprehensive of putting in, because I do love it so much, and it is one of my favourite all-time films that I would tell anybody to go out there and watch. Most of the trivia is themed around just how it was shot. Quite uniquely, most of it was shot with actors on their own.
So at any time it was zoomed in on one person, they were just in a room themselves.
Yep.
Wow.
That
makes it like it even more, because at no point did you ever feel that. And see, for a movie made in the 50s to seamlessly.
I know it does feel like you're watching it. I know it's not quite done in a single take, but it almost feels as close to that as there can be.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel as if it's been over edited or over cut, or it feels seamless to start to finish.
There you go. And the film took 21 days to complete. Done it in 3 weeks.
Just shows you.
I know.
I see that when I came up with this idea of giving our scores first and then coming back at the end, I genuinely thought probably Sean and maybe Burnsy would really have disliked it, and it would have been a wee fight, but everyone liked it, so it didn't quite work.
Well, to redo the scores, I'm obviously staying on a rock solid 5 for this. Can't give it any higher until we do the retakes of our scores in the future. Daniel?
I'm also sticking at a 5.
Burnsy, is there any movement in your 4?
I am going to push it up by 0.25, mainly because of what Daniel said about his thinking that the guy actually killed the dad. Like, I didn't even cross my mind, but when you think back, there is things that do point to that. So that's actually, because I like ones that have got either a twist or something that you don't see coming, and that's obviously something I didn't even pick up on at all. So mainly for that reason.
There you go, up a 0.25. Sean, any change in your 4.5?
No, it's going to remain as it is.
Remain as it is. It'll go up to a 5 when you watch the remake.
Well, the remake might get a 5.
Well, there we go. There we go. Hunter, you say you did hint there could be some movement?
Yes, as I said, the only thing that, but because you knew they were all going to get convinced, I think that takes a slight edge for it for me. But like your friend Craig, I'm going up by 0.25.
So up to 4.75 for Hunter. So just to recap on the scores, there was a 5 from me, a 5 from Daniel, a 4.25 for Burnsy, a 4.5 for Sean, and a 4.75 for Hunter. I think I've given you enough time to work it out, Burnsy.
Yeah, it's a 4.7.
Is that? Oh, how close is that?
A 4.7 puts it joint second with The Shining.
Wow.
So Goodfellas still sits pretty at number 1 with a 4.79, and Parasite just below at a 4.65 alongside Spider-Man.
There you go. And the top 3, well, second. Fucking class.
So what a contrasting week for us, guys. A movie coming in at second and a movie coming in at 125. How are you feeling after that week?
Exhausted.
I wish I watched this 1 second instead of first, because I'm still on a downer after that 4-round monstrosity. So,
and that's it. You have picked to do the longest one last as well, eh? Just I'll get the quick one out of the way.
I done it the other way around. I done the 12 Angry Men last. That was just to do.
You've made a good choice.
I actually thought that would be the worst out of the two, so that's why I like it.
Well, 12 Angry Men, it was nominated for Best Picture in 1958, and it lost out to The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Oh, that's also seen as like a really highly rated classic.
Oh, also nominated for Best Director and Best Writing as well, but didn't win any of them. So a non-Oscar winner in our top 2 and top 5 on IMDb ever.
There you go.
Happy days. Well, before we move on to the next section where we start talking about the movies for coming up for the next week, Daniel, have you got any other questions that you want to bring up from Instagram?
We did have a couple of other questions, but so I'll probably put these two together, right? We got one that said, "Why do you hate so many great movies?" And then another question is, "Can you please get better taste?" Right. So I thought they sort of tied in together, right? So I asked for some examples, and we could maybe discuss them as to why people think, because we said last week that people think we score and they get really pissed off, right? So I was like, what are the ones that annoy these people? So I've got 4 answers, and we can just quickly say why we think these are shite. So The French Dispatch.
Again, over that again.
I don't want us to go over it, right? But this is the type of thing that people like that we hate.
That goes back to what I said
you know
earlier,
what?
right? Because
Because we're no art school wankers, that's why.
See this? Why are we even bothering answering these questions as if these two fucking cunts will be listening to us?
That was the only reason I wanted to ask that question, was so I could get Sean to say something like that. The other one mentioned we were too low apparently for Back to the Future, Old Boy, and Cool Hand Luke are the ones that annoy
Do you know
people.
what? See, between Back to the Future and Old Boy, Back to the Future is the creepiest incestual film out of the two.
So we're doing then we're going to do one for the movie, then one for next week's category. Is that correct?
I missed that.
Are we going to do 2 wheel spins then? One for the movie and one for next week's category?
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got we're busy people, guys. Outside of this podcast, we obviously work really, really hard. Some of us. So we've been a bit slow on the content coming up to select the musical that everyone's been excited to see. We did spin for cinema, but we're unable to make the cinema. And we decided for next week that we will do a 1-movie show. I think the 4-hour movie has tipped a few people over the edge, so let's get a little bit of a break. Love Island is on, so we're going to have some allowances for the losers that watch that. But we've got 4 movies sitting on a wheel at the moment. We don't allow Craig to pick movies when it comes to spins like this. It would just be Sunshine on Leaf probably that he'd choose anyway.
I've not even seen that as well, so...
I'm not putting you down as somebody that's watched any musicals. But the musicals that are on the list at the moment that we're going to spin just now are West Side Story, Labyrinth, Grease, and Tick Tick Boom. I'd happily watch them all apart from Grease. So it's now going to spin on Grease because I've said that. So the wheel's spinning just now. So a 1 week, a 1 show for next week.
Labyrinth, love it.
And there we go. I'm actually quite excited for this. I've never seen it. So next week's musical that we will be watching, guys, is Labyrinth. The only thing I know about this is that David Bowie's got a big bulge.
Yes. We'll probably spend a lot of time next week talking about David Bowie's dick.
Well, what I want to know, and I think the main thing I want to learn from next week is it a bigger smashing Bobby than Jamie Foxx?
Oh, I don't know. We'll find out. Before you watch this, right, there was a phase in my life where I went into a hairdresser's and held up a picture of David Bowie in this movie and said, I want that. And that was my haircut for like 4 years.
I thought you were going to a picture of his crotch and said, I want that.
Can you keep the hair you cut off me to stuff it in my pants to look like this? Well, the wheel's spinning for the category for the following week, guys. Sean, I believe you're still not on the list. I think we're going to have to do a bit of a respin for this one, guys. I don't know if we can quite muster 2 separate cinema trips coming up in the near future.
Aye, skip it. Next one.
Next one. So for you listening, we did just spin cinema once again, but we found it too difficult to get the time to actually go to the cinema this week. So some of us have just got new jobs, so we're a bit busy and a bit preoccupied. Wheel spin's going for number 2. Watch it land on cinema again because it's just really eager for us to go. And I think we should just maybe spin again after this one. There we go. We have landed on Daniel's pick. So Daniel gets to choose. I look forward to us watching True Romance. Ugh.
You said that last time and I never picked it.
See, I've said that now that you won't pick it because I know how your mind works.
So I'd like to think we've built up some goodwill now that you won't actively shit on something because one of the other ones likes it after we all enjoyed your favourite movie. So
I would never shit on anything intentionally just because someone else likes it.
Back to the Future.
It's because nobody likes that. That wasn't intentionally just because of you. That's just because it was shit. And a little bit because it was you.
I've got a funny feeling I won't pick True Romance again because I like to think it's something a wee bit different for us to watch.
I reckon we're going to end up with some anime movie.
We might have something animated, I don't know, maybe. I'll think about it.
Sean's toes will be curling right now as we're talking about that. Well, guys, it brings us to the end. So, like I said earlier, 125th on the list for Zack Snyder's Justice League after a 4-hour marathon. And who would have thought that just a mere hour-and-a-half movie would have taken it to our top 2? That does bring us towards the end now, guys. So, thank you very much for your time. And as morons, bid you farewell.
Bonsoir.
Nobody can see you wave, Bonzi.
That's right, isn't it? Intentionally.
What's that?
Mike and Ike. Unbelievable, like elite tier sweeties.
Tell me what
that.
I've never heard of them.
B&M.
B&M.
Sell them to me. I didn't know what they are.
Imagine like the tastiest jelly bean you ever tasted. That's what it is.
Oh, I'm not a fan of jelly beans at all.
No, neither am I. I thought they looked good in the packet, but now you've actually.
I thought you had a packet of runts to start with.
Mike and Ike.
Mike and Ike.
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell was supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.